My name is Jason J. Rock Houston, and this is Metal, and my co-host and good friend that helps me along with this each and every time we do this is Joe Lawson. And Joe, it's great to be talking to you now. A few things before we get right into the show tonight, Joe. This is episode number 9, so we've come quite a ways. You know, next time's going to be episode number 10. That's quite an accomplishment, and I want to thank everybody that's been tuning in every time we do this. And so far, you know, like I said, this is going to be the 9th show we've done, but 5 of them have been posted so far. So, you know, we already got like 3 more shows in the can already, which is good. And I've been noticing the numbers keep going up. And the last one we did that's been posted, episode number 5, which is the Tim Ripper Owens episode, is so far we got like 34 hits, and that's pretty good for us. It's kind of the you know, most successful one we've done so far, and I'm happy about that because even though the number's not huge, it's going up, which means more and more people keep checking out. So that's a cool thing. So I want to thank all the people out there for checking this out.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's very much appreciated, and you know, like I told you, Jason, it's just I look at it just like you know, we're 2 metalheads talking shop, you know, and
so true.
You know, jumping into things that interest other metalheads, you know. So
yeah, and I want to let people know too, who weren't aware. Also, episode 5, which is the latest one that has been posted, is a Tim Ripper Owens one, and along with that, if you go to www.chaoticriffs.com, that's the official site for This Is Metal, and Joe has a song posted there. Tell us a little bit about the song. For anybody who hasn't had a chance to check it out, Joe. What's the name of the song again? And tell people a little about it.
It's Trail of Death, and it's a new Scream King song. It's going to be featured on The Indomitable Spirit, and it features Tim Ripper Owens, myself, and James Rivera of Hellstar.
Oh, and how did you get James involved? That's kind of interesting.
I've known James for quite some time now, and I always wanted to do something with him. I think he's highly underrated and amazing singer, and it worked out timing wise where he was able to do it, and everything lined up. It just, you know, it's just working with people's schedules, you know, sometimes is the most difficult. You got to be patient, and you got to work with them and what they got going on, and we were able to pull off a pretty cool sounding song, I think.
And so let me ask you in regards to Tim Owens. Obviously, you said you had known James from before, but I'm assuming you didn't know Tim Owens. So was it a matter of reaching out to him or his manager, or what was that process like?
No, I mean, I just reached out to him, and it took a while to get a response. And you know, like I said before, you know, guys like that, they're busy. They're crazy busy sometimes, and you know, so you just got to be patient, and they'll get back to you, you know. And, and they did, and we talked about it a little bit, and you know, I sent it off, and it was a real smooth process. And no, I didn't know Tim personally, you know, or anything like that, but I'm glad he did it.
And so that's my next question is how surprised were you? You know, okay, I'm going to try to reach out to this guy, and he probably won't write back, but what was it like when you know, he did respond to you, and not only did he respond, but he agreed to do it? That had to be like, oh man, what a cool guy.
Oh yeah, it was exciting, you know, and it was. I was very much looking forward to it. And actually, someone had made a comment a while back on a post or something of ours, and mentioned that they'd like to hear me do a song with Tim Ripper Owens, and I thought, that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, what people got to understand about the song is you guys did it kind of a modern way where. You know, people shouldn't be thinking you were in the same room with them or the same studio, but you know, that's kind of a final question regarding the song is so you each kind of record your own vocal parts separately, and then you know, how hard was it to piece it all together and kind of get the vocals all together in the right spot?
Well, everything lines up, and it wasn't that hard. You know, those guys are professionals at what they do. The tracks were well organized and well recorded, and there was no issues. You know, the thing that took the longest is mix. You know, you want to take your time working on that, and then trying to get everything to sound good together, and sometimes that can be a bit of a process. And when you're doing something with 2 and 3 different singers,
in the voices to line up,
you gotta really listen carefully and sit on the mix a little bit, listen to it a couple different times, walk away from it, come back to it, stuff like that.
Yeah. And I imagine,
I think it came out pretty good.
Yeah. And I imagine it's one thing to have an idea for a song in your head, but then when you get the final product mix and you hear the final product, it's got to be like, a dream come true.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure. It was a lot of fun doing it, and I'm looking forward to hopefully seeing a release with that record, hopefully in 2021.
That'd be great.
We'll see how things progress along.
Yeah.
But, that's what we're hoping for.
And you told me not too long ago that I don't know if it's with Dragonlord or Scream Kings, but that you've been doing a lot musically lately as far as laying down new tracks. So would that be for both bands, or Scream Kings right now is primarily what you're concentrating on?
Well, no, the Scream King stuff I had done for
quite
a while now, actually, and the new stuff that I'm working on is the new Dragonlord record. That's the stuff I've just been doing pre-production work, they call it, demos.
Yeah.
Feeling things out and writing with this new lineup. So I'm kind of concentrating on that. But the Scream King album is done. It's in the bag. There's more than enough material there for a full album.
Because the cool thing with
enough for a double release.
The cool thing with that right now, especially with all this COVID stuff going on and people not being able to go out and play live, at least maybe you can give your fans some new CDs to kind of latch on to and have something to listen to, which I think is cool, because a lot of bands are not even they're holding off on releasing their albums, and then I think it'd be kind of cool to have something new to listen to.
Absolutely, and slowly but surely, I think things are going to be coming back to somewhat of a normal set of circumstances for musicians and artists, or at least I sure hope so. Yeah, I'm optimistic on it.
Yeah, okay, well, and the final thing I'm going to say regarding Mr. Tim Owens, because that's what our episode number 5, which is the most recent one that's been posted, is on. We also got on your Dragonlord fan page, where we kind of talk about each episode as they're posted, is Sean Peck, of all people. He's seen our post, and I know he's a mutual friend. I've interviewed Sean several times, and he's a really great guy, but
absolutely,
he picked up on what we were doing on Tim Owens, the episode that's up there, and he right away posted it on the Three Tremors page, the official page. So thanks to Sean for that, and kind of to show Sean our thank you. We have planned that we're going to do an episode on him in a few weeks, kind of about all his little projects, because he's got a ton of great projects, but we'll save that for another episode. Tonight, we are going to be specifically talking about Overkill, and I gotta tell you, Joe, like you said, when we do these shows, it's like two metalheads kind of talking about what they love. But what I loved about it, especially this episode we're going to be doing tonight, is Overkill is one of those bands that I was aware of. I've always heard a ton of people talking about them, but I really hadn't taken the time to check out any of their music. And I'd asked you, hey, Joe, for anybody that's never really checked out Overkill, what's the kind of go-to album that you would recommend, check it out? And you tell me, I think a good one to kind of check out is Ironbound. And man, you picked the right album, because, I mean, this is kind of like, it's just great stuff from top to bottom. We got 10 tracks on here, and we kind of talked about some of the individual tracks, but I would kind of, first of all, describe Overkill. To me, I listened to this album, and the songs kind of sound like almost Slayer with melody. I think that's a good way to describe this.
Yeah, they're a great thrash metal band.
Yeah.
When you think thrash metal, you always hear of the big four, and it's like you said, Slayer or Anthrax or Megadeth, or and a lot of those bands. But these guys have been around probably just as long, or almost as long, whatever.
Yeah.
And they've just been album after album. I mean, they've got a long career of kicking ass. And to be completely honest, I wasn't a huge fan of Overkill until I heard Ironbound.
Wow.
And when I heard Ironbound, that changed. I was like, oh my God, these guys are just killing it.
Yeah, I'll tell you, one of the songs I really loved off this album is called let's see what The Goal Is Your Soul. And I listened to the first couple tracks, and then I'm listening to this track, and it starts off kind of almost slow. I almost thought it was going to be a ballad or something. It was that much difference in the speed, and then it eventually picks up, and it's just full flow blown on thrash, you know. And it's like, oh, okay. I thought this was going to be something else. Oh, this is cool, man. They kind of taking me on a little journey here.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I was watching the video, and just, I mean, Bobby Blitz, Ellsworth, the lead singer, man, he I was watching him in the video, his presence, just the way he, his choreography, I mean, the way he moves on stage, I mean, it is beyond belief. I mean, he is the center of that band, I gotta say. I mean, all eyes were on him.
Oh yeah, he's a great frontman, great singer. Again, you know, he's one of those guys that's got an original voice. You know, I mean, to me, as soon as I hear him sing, I know it's him.
And see, like I compare this to Slayer only because when you think of Slayer, I mean, everyone's Slayer, you know, and you think of screeching vocals, but this guy, I mean, he can screech almost as good as Tom Araya, but the music had a little more melody to it than what Slayer does.
Oh yeah, absolutely. No disrespect to Slayer.
Yeah. They're great at
pick Overkill or Slayer. It's gonna be Overkill every time.
I mean, they're great at what they do, and that's why they're part of the Big Four. And in regards to like Overkill, I've often heard people say, okay, now if there's like a Big Five or, you know, second, like if you had like the Big Eight, they definitely be included in that.
Right.
Yeah.
They're high up there, at least in my opinion. They're a hell of an amazing band. And
this album we're talking about, just to give people a time frame, was released January 29th, 2010. And it's kind of interesting because it says it's the first Overkill album to chart on the Billboard 200 chart since 1993's I Hear Black. So they had like 17 years between albums since they last charted. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah, well, again, you know, it's metal, and that's not the intention. You know, I mean, of course, every metal band
wants to get on the chart. Yeah,
people in every metal band want to be successful. I mean,
who doesn't?
That goes without saying. But I mean, to the point of, you know, trying to get on Billboard or something like that. That's far from most metal musicians.
Like, they weren't setting out to do that. It's kind of the fact that they did. Okay, it's a small footnote. Yeah, that's more like the record label. Oh, hey, they got on the charts. We gotta put that out there.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, and Overkill, they've always, like I said, I'm not really familiar with them as far as, I mean, I know who they are, but before this, I could probably not even name a single Overkill album or even a song. But this is a great album. You know, got 10 great tracks. And see, that's the thing I loved about this album from top to bottom. I mean, you know how they say it's all killer, no filler? That's what this is. That's what this is. And I think this is a very good album to point to if somebody's never heard Overkill. Okay, listen to that, and that'll give you an idea what the band is all about.
Right. Yeah, they're a phenomenal band, and they also have recently recruited Jason Bittner on drums, and Jason Bittner was the drummer for Shadows Fall.
Oh, of course,
Shadows Fall on the map, and then after that he went and played drums for Flotsam and Jetsam.
Oh wow, yeah.
And he was in Flotsam for a while, and then he got the gig to play with Overkill. So. Their latest album was great too, The Wings of War, and that's another just fantastic album from those guys. If anybody's listening who hasn't checked out Overkill, those two albums would definitely be my personal recommendation to check out, as The Wings of War and Ironbound. They're two of my favorites. All of their stuff is great. It really is. They've got a lot of amazing music out there. But if you're into thrash or you want some great workout music, Overkill is right there for you, man.
And I guess what's interesting, I was reading on the Wikipedia that Bobby Blitz Ellsworth and the bass player Dee Dee Verney, they're kind of the two main guys that have kind of lasted through all the lineups, and they write the bulk of the material, but interesting enough, I guess they like I'll say songs written by Overkill, so everybody kind of gets a piece of it, you know. I guess to be fair, so that's kind of a cool way. I guess they do it to try to keep everybody getting along, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and that's the way it should be. I mean, a band is a band. I mean, I know every band is different. Every band has different scenarios, different writers, different situations, and money gets involved in things. And a lot of times, you know, that changes things for people. It just does.
Yeah.
But you know, honestly, if you want people to be a part of something, and you want them to feel, and you want them to deliver their best performance and be in peak shape and all of that kind of stuff, then you got to make them feel like they really are a part of it, and in every aspect. And that includes, you know, songwriting and financially and all of that. Or otherwise, you know, they're just a hired gun, you know.
So have you ever seen Overkill live, or are you just like a casual fan? How would you tell us a story, Joe, of how you kind of first got turned on to Overkill yourself?
Well, honestly, no, I've never seen them live. Okay. Unfortunately, I hope to change that someday.
Yeah.
And how I really got introduced to them was before Scream King had really formed. Raphael and his brother Alex and myself were just playing a bunch of different metal covers, and we were throwing ideas out there, and a couple of Overkill songs were thrown on that set list, and then I started listening to them, and I'm like, man, they're a better band than I give them credit for. You know, they got some good stuff, and that kind of got me poking around and checking them out. And then, like I said, when I heard Ironbound, I was just like, whoa, wait a minute.
Wow.
That's like a whole nother level of ass kicking.
Yeah. Now, as a singer, like, do you think you'd be able to like cover any of these tunes, let's say on Ironbound or any of the other Overkill tunes you're familiar with?
Yeah. I mean, it's similar to the way I sing, so it's not too far of a stretch for me. But again, my days of doing cover tunes are over. I just don't really have any interest in doing that, or the time. You know, I mean, they're fun to mess around with, and if you're just jamming with the band or whatever, it's fun to still do once in a while. But you know, I just kind of prefer to do my own thing.
That makes sense. Yeah, makes sense.
Do what I can with that. It's I've been compared to Bobby Ellsworth, you know, a few times, especially when I was younger.
Wow.
I was in a thrash metal band called Blind Rage, and that was my first album in 1996 was Blueprints to Madness, and a few writers and reviews came out saying that I sounded similar to Bobby Ellsworth from Overkill. Yeah,
it's kind of interesting because, I mean, Overkill's been around for a number of years, and like I said, to me, they often get like overlooked. I mean, they got a lot of potential. People say how great they are, and yet they've been around just almost as long as Metallica and Megadeth. But like when people talk about, like you're saying, a lot of times they might cover a Metallica or a Megadeth song, but I can't think of one person that's covered an Overkill song. I'm not sure why that is, but just maybe their time hasn't come. Who knows?
Well, it's like anything else. A lot of good underground metal. Most, I would say, underground metal that's good isn't really on the radar. It's not commercial.
Yeah.
But that's just me talking. What I like, what I enjoy, and kind of what I think. But I mean, they're great songwriters. I love their lyrics. Their rhythm section is just unbeatable. I mean, it's just what a battering ram, man. And D.D. Verney's bass tones and sounds. I mean, I'd love to sit down and talk with that guy and just see what he does to get the sounds that he gets. I mean, I love his bass tone and sound. You can hear every note he plays, and it doesn't matter if it's 500 notes a second. You can hear everything he's doing. I mean, it's just the guy's a really good bass player.
And and then like the first track on the album, the Great and Black. I mean, that track alone is just like it's over 8 minutes long, and I mean that's quite an accomplishment in itself that you can have a 8-minute song. See, like you're pointing out, back in the day they would tell you, you're never going to get that song played on the radio. They're not going to play an 8-minute long song, you know.
Right, of course.
So that's not the goal. But and then the other song I really dug off this album, Bring Me the Night. It was almost kind of like a thrash anthem, you know. Like I could really see seeing the band live and seeing them do this and kind of, you know, getting up on your feet and kind of rocking out to it, you know.
Absolutely. That's funny you mentioned that. That's also my wife's favorite song off that album. She really loves that song. You know, it gets her blood pumping. You know, like I said, again, it's great music if you want to be energized, you want to work out.
Yeah.
You know, you want to get motivated. Overkill can do it.
Well, yeah. And then they have a song called the last song on the album, the SRC. I'm not sure what that stands for, but that's a pretty cool track as well.
Yeah, that whole album is just, I love it. It's a really good album, and they got a good video for that song as well too on YouTube. If you check out, you type in "Overkill, Bring Me the Night." It's a pretty cool video. They got some good videos.
That's when I was watching you, and you know, I know I probably should be telling people this, but the cool thing I have discovered is if you go to, you'd be amazed how many like full length albums you can find on YouTube. Like I typed in. Overkill, Ironbound, just to see what would come up, and you're able to go on and they post the full album on there, and you can, you know, listen to it track by track, and that's a good way to listen to a lot of this stuff to, you know, kind of especially if you're listening to it the first time, kind of get a feeling if you even like it, and then I do urge people, if it's something you did, go out and buy the CD or the album, you know, support the band, because that's how they make their living, you know.
Right.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But it's kind of a cool tool to have, to be able to go on there and check it out. And I think the reason, like probably if you listen to Ironbound or even the current album you were telling us about, Joe, probably both albums will very much still sound like Overkill in the sense that even though the lineup's constantly going through changes, you've got Bobby Ellsworth and Dee Dee Verney. They're kind of the core of the band. So the fact that they're still in the band, you know, I mean, if they were to get a new lead singer, it would drastically change the sound of the band, of course.
Right.
Yeah. So I just think he's such a great, I mean, I watch these videos, and I mean, he's just such a great performer. That's what I took notice of watching these videos.
Right. Their latest, The Wings of War, it's called. It didn't really chart very high on Billboard.
Yeah.
I think it was number 158, they said. But again, to me that means it's good music. But it was well received in Europe. It debuted at number 5 in Germany. So that says something for you know,
and
the metal community over there.
I mean, and see, they're part of that big you know, thrash scene from San Francisco that started coming, you know, really breaking big around 86 or 87, and I think they've been around just about that long, and they're one of those bands that, you know, they're warriors, I'd say, because they've lasted that long. They've gone through many lineup changes, but they're still here putting out great new music, and you gotta love them for that. You know, they've got that fight in them. They never give up, you know.
Right, absolutely, they sure do, and they got some great songs on there as well. A Mother's Prayer, Batshit Crazy, Head of a Pin, Believe in the Fight, Last Man Standing, Welcome to the Garden State. Just some great tunes, man, and again, a rhythm section that can rival any band out there, in my opinion. So, some really fantastic, great metal music. If you're not familiar with it, again, check out The Wings of War and Ironbound. Those are my 2 favorites, but they've got a ton of really good material out there that you could just.
Yeah, I don't know if you're able to do this, Joe, but like between those 2 albums, like is it even possible for you to pick, like, well, if I had to pick my favorite, I'd go with this one over this one, or?
Well, you know, I probably would say Ironbound, but in all honesty, I really haven't had a chance to listen to
the new one,
The Wings of War, as much as I have Ironbound.
Yeah.
So that could be part of it too.
Yeah.
I think they're both really, really good albums, and good songwriting and good production, and just like I said, just really great, fist pumping, high motivating heavy metal thrash. You know, Good stuff, man.
Yeah, and what surprises me the most is like this is an album that is at this point in 2020 it's 10 years old, and that is Ironbound, and it still holds up, 10 years later. I mean, and this is a band at this time, Ironbound was the band's 15th studio album, so that's a lot of album output at that point, and they're still putting out new music, so you gotta love it. I mean, the fact that this music 10 years later still holds up, I think it says something about their gift as songwriters and just as an overall band.
Absolutely. Two other albums worth mentioning going back in their archives is Under the Influence, was released in 1988. That's a really popular one. And Hello from the Gutter, released in 2002.
Wow. I love that title, Hello from the Gutter. It's like we're down in the swamp, but we're still there. We're doing our thing, and you either love it or you hate it, but we're here. We're delivering the goods. And I got to tell you an interesting thing. When I was looking up, I typed in Overkill, and I was looking for the Wikipedia. And at first, this other, as I go down, I start to read it, and it's telling me Overkill is an American punk metal band. And I'm like, well, they're not punk. And then I read on, and it was some other band. I don't even know where they're from, but it was some other American band, like it was called SS Overkill or something. And I go, okay, so that's kind of interesting. Okay.
Right, yeah. A lot of bands with similar names and crap like that. But yep, there's only, except No Substitution, there's only one Overkill.
Oh, that's for sure. And I'm kind of, I noticed too, like in over the years I've seen. They primarily are a headlining band, I guess, in the sense that they've been around that long that, they can obviously headline, but I've never seen that they were part of like a real big package tour, like they used to have back in the day.
Yeah, and a lot of things logistic-wise and money-wise, kind of dictated, what bands could do with that, It's made it really tough, even before COVID and all this other crap that's going on right now. It's been really difficult for metal bands to go out and have success, I mean, it's difficult, for the metal fans and the metal crowd. We're all getting older, and we don't go out as much as we used to, and people have mortgages and house payments, and cars and kids, and going to college, and and it just makes things a lot more difficult to get out and support those bands and do those kind of things that we did when we were younger.
I mean, even a band like Warrant that was once on a major label like Columbia Records, and they had the big hits like Down Boys in Heaven, and they still go out there and tour, and they carry on with, even though the original lead singer Janie Lane is passed away, they got Robert Mason now, but the funny thing, even a band like that was all over MTV, they had all the hits and everything. A lot of these guys now, they got day jobs, and it's like they do weekend gigging, and a lot of them, some of the guys like work in a music store, they have other like day jobs and stuff, and you never would have think that, and even, back in the day, when I was growing up, in order to go on the road, a band had to have like a new album out. I mean, you wouldn't go out and tour until the album was out. I mean, I interviewed the drummer from Trickster, and he was telling me that when they opened up for Kiss, he says, our album wasn't even out, and they told us, no, hey, the tour starts next week. You guys have to have your album out, but by the time we hit the road. I mean, that's how it used to be, done back in the day. Right.
Yeah. And, it's a different world out there. And, like I said, true metal has always been underground.
Yeah.
And so, it had its heyday in the 80s, but, aside from that, it's never been the commercial vehicle that rock bands like Warrant have enjoyed and stuff like that. It really never has been. So, and guys like the guys in Overkill, you're not telling them anything new. They're living it.
And
so
I will say
they're doing it out of true passion. That's what it boils down to. They're doing it because they love to do it.
And because like Overkill, even unlike Metallica, doesn't have like any real radio friendly music. I mean, the only time they're going to get any kind of exposure is maybe on a local metal station, or if they have a local concert and somebody's promoting it or something like that. or even I remember even seeing them on MTV back in the day when they had Headbangers Ball. But see, that's the thing. You wouldn't see a band like Overkill on MTV during the day. You'd have to wait to see them, late at night after midnight on Headbangers Ball. I mean, that would be the time you would have any chance of seeing a band like that. But even for a band like Overkill back in the day, that was a really big thing. I mean, that was exposure. Oh, we were on Headbangers Ball.
That was huge. And that launched the careers and helped the careers along for countless metal bands.
Yeah, and I'll tell you,
Headbangers Ball did. It really did.
I'll tell you a funny story, Joe, about just MTV as a whole. Well, I remember when I don't know if you do, but I remember when Headbangers Ball first started. I mean, before they even had Ricky Rackman, they got this guy. I don't know if you remember who Adam Curry was, and they got him as original host because he's got long hair. He looks like a metal dude. He's got put on a leather jacket and he's got an earring. Will make him look metal. And he was cool for a while, but then they got the real metal guy, Ricky Rackman, and it kind of became more of a metal thing. I mean, people had more legitimacy almost to it, and I remember back in the day, Headbangers Ball was a big thing, especially for the metal bands. And it's also interesting. I've been seeing these ads on TV, like, on Facebook recently, where MTV just turned 39 years old, but they only played 14 years of music.
Right.
I mean, think about that too. I mean, that's the thing. They were so revolutionary back in the day, and that's what they're known for, playing music. And then eventually they had this show of a real world. It's a success, and then one day they just stopped playing music. It's reality TV now.
Right. Well, maybe maybe eventually we can spin off and have our own TV show.
Yeah, who knows?
And bring back a Headbangers Ball in true form and fashion, and make it our own version of that.
And then who knows? And the funny thing about that is, and then they had VH1, which was the next best thing to MTV. I mean, they at least had music-related stuff for a while, but that has turned into like reality TV. And the thing I loved about VH1 is they used to have that metal show with Eddie Trunk and those other two comedians, and they didn't stop making the show because the numbers were. It was like the most popular thing. You're not gonna believe this when I tell you that I've heard Eddie Trunk say the reason they stopped making that show because it cost too much for the network to make. It was like their most popular thing. I mean, can you imagine canceling something because it's the most popular show on your network? It just costs too much to make.
Yeah, it's hard to. You never know what to believe with all of that.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's probably more involved in it than what we're hearing.
Yeah.
But
that's the message they put out, anyways.
Like I said, money gets involved in things, and it just seems to turn everything to shit.
Yeah. And Overkill, I do think they have their place in metal history for the simple fact is. They may not get a lot of love, but they get mentioned every once in a great while, and they deserve that for the simple fact that they're one of those bands that are still around from the original San Francisco thrash scene when all the bands were first coming out of there.
Oh yeah. They were at the very beginning of all of that. They were pioneers of that, and they're still out there pounding the pavement and doing their thing. It's awesome, man. I mean, yeah. You gotta have love and respect for that. Like I said, they're out there doing what they love to do, and in my opinion, they're damn good at it. Yeah,
and I'm just amazed that Bobby Blitz went after a while and say, you know what, I'm gonna break up Overkill or quit Overkill and go solo. But he's been doing it so long, but I think it would kind of be crazy, because. Bobby Blitz is Overkill. I mean, like I said, if he was to leave a band and they were to even try to think about carrying on, it just wouldn't be the same.
Yeah, that would be a tough one for them to continue on, and hopefully that won't happen.
Yeah.
And hopefully we'll hear.
I mean, at this point,
more albums from Overkill.
Yeah. I mean, at this point that you've been doing it long enough, why go do anything different?
Right.
And talking about that San Francisco thrash scene they were a part of, I mean, people forget that Metallica was not originally from San Francisco, and we'll get into this in a future episode, but I'll just go on to say this, that people, forget that Metallica was originally from Los Angeles. In fact, I think James Hetfield grew up around Norwalk, California, and it was at the suggestion of Cliff Burton that they moved to San Francisco because Metallica back in the early '80s, I mean, they were playing all the big clubs in LA Sunset Strip, but they were not selling out. They were not headliners at that point, you know.
Right.
And they're like, nobody's giving us any love in LA, and that's really the real reason they moved to San Francisco.
Interesting.
Yeah, and that's why, again, we'll talk about it in a future show, but those first three Metallica albums, those are like, those are kind of the gold standard, if you know what I mean.
Oh, absolutely. They're classics and my favorites too, you know. And again, they're definite. Whether you love them or like them or hate them, they were the pioneers of that style of music too. You know, they paved the way for a lot of other bands as well. And
that's pretty much all I have to say in regards to Ironbound and Overkill. Because again, Joe, I wasn't too familiar. I've heard the name Overkill, but I wasn't I was kind of a casual observer, if you will. I wasn't a real diehard fan, but I want to thank you because one thing I've enjoyed about doing This Is Metal is you've turned me on to some great bands through doing this. And I kind of enjoyed yesterday kind of listening to the album Ironbound and kind of, you know, getting familiar and preparing myself for tonight. But I thought, man, how did I miss, you know, what a great band this was.
Yeah, they're a phenomenal band. I could throw a bunch of them your way, man.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, hopefully, we'll be doing a lot more of these shows. And so I was just thinking of, the other day, a lot of things in my head about what we can talk about on future episodes, but we'll save that for another day. But before we wrap it up, Joe, is there anything you'd like to say to the folks out there?
Yeah, spend some time getting familiar with some of this stuff and give it a chance. Check it out if you haven't. Like I said, some of these bands have been doing this for so long. You know, some of these guys got like 20 and 30 albums out. You know, and there's some really good, amazing stuff in there. And give it a listen, man. You know, spread your musical plateau.
Or spread your metal wings, if you will.
That's right. Yeah. Spread your metal wings. I like that.
Yeah. Okay, well, Joe, I want to thank you for doing This Is Metal once again, and we're going to be posting episode 6 real soon. We'll let you guys know when it's up. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode of This Is Metal. And thanks again, Joe.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Talk to you soon.